Hi, good evening, and a very warm welcome to all of you in today's webinar. As always, we are going to give a couple of minutes to all the attendees, all the participants to join in, settle down, and then we'll get started with our discussion. However, there are a few important discussions that I would want to do with you that will help you get the maximum benefit from today's webinar. The first one is about how we are going to interact. So for that, we are going to use two tools which are available. You have may have already experienced that this is not a meeting format. This is a webinar format, which means that you cannot simply unmute yourself and ask the question. Now, if you have question, if there is a doubt, there's anything that you would want to ask me, how will you do that? So for that, there are two tools which we are going to use. One is the chat, which we are going to use the most in today's session. The second is Q&A. Now, Q&A is tucked away in the more options section. So if you look into the more, so there's a more option down below. If you click on it, that's where you will see Q&A. So that is more for questions. So technically, or even talking logically, there's nothing stopping you from typing in a question in a chat, right? You can do that. But what happens, and you may also experience this, that when other users are adding their inputs in the chat, their comments, question, or anything in the chat, that's where you'll notice that it scrolls up. And because of that, there is a very good possibility, very good chance that I may miss out on your question. So that's where it is strongly recommended that if you have a question, whether it is related to what I'm talking or anything else, try to add that in Q&A so that it does not get missed out. And the second is chat, which we are going to use quite extensively. So let me take the initiative. Let me say hi to everyone. All right, so that is something I wanted to share with you, how we are going to interact. Now, very quickly, I have to also check on the live stream. So just give me a moment and let me check on the live stream and I will be back with you. So live stream appears to be working fine, although I can see the camera quality is a little low because of the internet connectivity. There's a thunderstorm going outside, so possibly because of that, but I think it is manageable. We can continue with it. So another question which I thought of answering before we get started, and because it happens to be one of the very common questions in our webinars, and that is will we get the recording of the webinar? And the answer is absolutely yes. Immediately after the webinar, we will send you an email with the recording of the webinar. So yes, certainly you will get the recording. Now I will very quickly move the chat window and also the Q&A window onto the other monitor, and then we will proceed ahead. Okay, all right. So I have the chat there and I have the Q&A window on the other monitor. Now, before we started, I wanted to do two activities, and this is something which I feel in today's day and age. One is just let me know. Let's start with the easier one. One is a question that how many of you have previously attended my session? So you can type yes in the chat. So I'll know that what is the percentage. So I have few who are saying yes, who are saying no. So wonderful. So if you are coming back again, wonderful. I think that you found the previous session informative. That's why you are here. And I can see there are a lot of new attendees. So welcome. And I believe this is the first interaction that we are having. So I would love to continue this relationship. So that's one. The second activity, which I wanted to do very, very quickly, I'll do that or share that with you. And this is where I want all of you to do that along with me. So it is And this is a problem that we all face because our attention span, and I'm not going to go into the reasons, we all understand what is causing it. But because of that, our attention span has gone down significantly. There are a lot of things that can be done. And again, I am not a subject matter expert onto that, but I follow that space. So there is a very small activity, and I want all of you to do that. And this particular activity or trick was promoted by Professor Andrew Huberman, a who's a expert in neurosciences. So follow along. So what you have to do is you have to take 15 consecutive breaths inward. So you have to breathe in 15 times very quickly. Let's start that. Then exhale. And you have to exhale. Exhale everything. And then hold your breath for 15 seconds. So let's do that. Now start breathing in normally. What do you think? What has happened? Are there any thoughts left in your mind? Must be experiencing little clarity. It's a very, very quick trick. So whenever start feeling little overwhelmed, is something that I wanted to do. I wanted to do this activity with all of you because I wanted you to be little more present here because we all understand that attention span. So perfect. This is where we will get started. So once again, good evening and a very warm welcome to all of you in today's webinar. And this is where now I'm going to start presenting my screen and we will proceed ahead. Now, many of you, because you are attending for the very first time, you must be thinking, who is this person who is just talking on the camera? So let me share a quick introduction about myself as well as we move ahead or as I start presenting my screen. So my name is Adnan. I am Director Digital Commerce at GlobalLinker. I have over 20 years of experience in digital and technology. And at GlobalLinker, there are two roles which I play. One is obviously of a business side. The second role is of a public speaker and trainer when I conduct a lot of webinars and workshops. And I had the wonderful opportunity of conducting more than 500 such sessions and sharing little bit of knowledge with about 19,000 business owners in India and other countries. So that's a quick introduction about myself. I will share my personal contact details with all of you, and I look forward to also connecting with you to provide you guidance or consultation on your digital business growth journey. So that's a quick introduction about myself, and I am now presenting my screen. So the first help which I need from all of you is to confirm that you're able to see my screen. Although I have the live stream open on the other monitor so I can see that the live stream has started, but it is always better to reconfirm because there had been an instance wherein Zoom malfunction. So perfect. All of you who have confirmed that you're able to see the screen, thank you. I appreciate your help. All right. So now I am going to start with a very short story. And again, we will use another story to go through today's session. The first story which I wanted to share with you is of a boy called Ravi. So Ravi was an below average student and maths was very, very difficult for him. And he used to struggle. Ravi was son of a very influential person called Suresh. And Suresh was very wealthy, very politically connected, very influential person in their vicinity. Now, one night, Ravi was trying to prepare for the examination, and that's where he was really struggling and he was not able to understand anything. And that's where he started crying. So that was the moment when Suresh walked in to the room, to the study room, and he was shocked to see his son crying. So that's where Suresh asked, what happened? So Ravi told him that I'm not able to understand anything, and I am going to fail in tomorrow's exam. So that's where Suresh told him, don't worry, you are my son. I'll take care of it. And that's where he took out his phone, made few calls, and after that, he shared the question paper with Ravi that this is the question paper. Uh, Remember it, and then you will do the exam tomorrow. So that's how things went ahead. Now, after some time, as Ravi grew older, there was a road accident and Suresh lost his life in that. And after that, Ravi had to take control of the company. But because Ravi lacked the strong foundation which was needed, the strong educational foundation which was needed, because of that he didn't had that acumen to control the empire which his father had built over the last 30 years. And because of that, eventually the business has to be closed. And then Ravi had to go around, although he had phenomenally good degrees and certificate, but because of his lack of knowledge, he was struggling to get a proper job and proper earnings for himself. Now, why am I sharing this sad story with all of you? So, because a lot of us are also doing the same thing as business owners. The If you're looking at the screen, you may see in the situation is changed. Now, I am not outrightly saying that you shouldn't be doing that, you shouldn't be dependent on the platforms which are generating leads for you. No, but you should prepare your business yourself. And if you look at the title of today's webinar, that is where I have to highlight you what is that magical thing that will help you not only survive but also thrive in this new AI powered world that we are all part of. So the first thing and the most important one is the mindset. That's where you have to prepare yourself. You have to prepare your business so that independently you can also generate your own leads. And I'm going to guide you way ahead. And using another story. Now, this story is far more detailed, and we will all go through the story. The entire today's webinar is around this story, and this is called the invisible masterpiece. Now, why am I? Sometimes people ask me this question: why do I use story? Because otherwise, understand, we are discussing technology. It will be very, very dry and boring, and little difficult to understand. So just to keep it easier to understand and to keep it engaging for all of you, that's where I'll try to convey the entire message using a story. So let's move ahead and let's try to understand, or let's try to live through this story that is called the invisible masterpiece. So once upon a time, there used to be a king, and a very powerful and rich king who was very, very particular about his dress. And on all the occasions, he wanted to be the best dressed man in the party or in his courtroom, and he wanted to have the finest dress which were available in his country or even overseas. Now, his new birthday, or his birthday was upcoming in 7 days, and he realized that all the dresses that he has, and in fact a few of the dresses that he got made, are very look alike, and there's nothing new, and he is not liking. So there was something extraordinary he wanted for his upcoming birthday. And that's where he called his servants that, why don't you go and look for a finest artisan who has very fine craft, and he make a dress for my upcoming birthday. Now, these servants, they had never done this. They never had got into this activity of getting the dress made for the king. So they were obviously terrified. So they immediately went to one of the ministers for advice that king has given us this responsibility that we have to get the dress made for his upcoming birthday, which is in next 7 days. And we are absolutely terrified. How should we do that? So that's where the minister said that I've heard there's this city, or I know there is this city, which is very, very famous for their handicraft work, for their handloom, and you can go there. I have heard there are many artisans. I don't know them personally, but I've heard there are many good artisans who are very well versed in their handloom and their dressmaking activity, and you should be able to get a very nice dress which our king will very much like. So why don't you go there? So they immediately got started, but there was a lot of rain and thunderstorm and whatnot was happening, and because of that, they were not able to reach that city in time. And they, by the time they reached, it was already dark. So most of the city was already closed, but there were few eateries which were open. So they went to one of the eateries, and that's where they interacted with one of the locals and tried to understand where can they find the good artisans. So the local told them that you should go to this particular street, which is called Poshak Street. We have all the good artisans there, and you should be able to find a good artisans who can make the dress for our king. So because these servants were under tremendous pressure because they have to get the dress made for the king. So without spending any more time, they immediately went to the Poshak Street, and that's where, while they were strolling, the entire street was closed. There was no one in the street, but while they were strolling, they noticed that many of the shops there who were actually closed, but they had these wonderful, very nicely done signboards on them, and which were talking about the artisan, etc. So they thought and spoke amongst themselves that these uh, shops which have these very nice signboards, it looks like these artisans are the good ones, and we should be coming tomorrow. And because we don't have too much time, so we should be very quickly going to these, and then we will decide whom we should be giving the order to get the king's dress made. While all this was happening, there was a artisan called Arvin who was there in that street. He had a shop, and he had the finest skills when it came to handloom or stitching a very beautiful, elegant dress. So he was, in fact, qualified. He had all the material, he had all the qualities, he had all the equipment, he had everything. What he didn't had was visibility, because he believed that my skill, my art will speak for myself. So that's where he didn't even had a signboard. Only locals who were familiar with him, they only knew about him. So that's where he worked, and he, in all means, was the person who should have been selected for the king's dress. But what happened in the morning, because the servants were hard pressed for the time, so they came and then they just went to the shops which had these fancy, nice looking signboards, and spoke to them and finally decided whom will be making the king's dress. They gave the order, and after a few days, they came back to collect the dress, and that's where Arvind was standing in the street. Although, by all means, Arvind was qualified to for this task, for this once in a lifetime opportunity, but he couldn't get it because of the lack of visibility. Now, why am I sharing this historic story with all of you? Because this is where the servants are changed. The servants are the AI tools that we all have. The servants are now ChatGPT, the servants are now Gemini, the servants are now Claude, and who are doing this activity. So, similarly, how King asked that I need a dress, find the finest supplier. Similarly, all of us are doing that. In fact, these servants are doing a lot more than just finding suppliers, and all of us are using them in our day to day life. So that's where it is crucial for all of us, especially exporters, because you deal with an audience which is more tech savvy, and the technology adoption is on a very high level in your buyers. So that's where You have to become ready so that your modern servants or the modern servants of the Maharaja can find you. Now, this is where I mentioned that we will continue with this story going forward, and we will try to now see that in today's context, can we help Arvind? The historic Arvind, obviously, we were not there and we couldn't help him. But the new Arvind, the modern Arvind, can we help the modern Arvind and help him get the order from the new Maharaja? And this where on your screen you can see how the transition has happened. So the Maharaja is now a procurement head in a company based in New York. The servants are now the AI systems. The signboard is your digital architecture, and your ancient Arvind is the modern Arvind who operates a high-tech garment export facility. So now our mission for today is to help Arvind get the order from the procurement head of a large retail organization. Let's move ahead. Let's try to see how we all can do that. Now, before we move ahead with our mission, there are a few things I would want to stress upon and share with you. So, how in the entire scheme of things, uh, we shape up. So here we have this grid. I'm sure many of you have used this grid. It is a very, very useful, and this is something which you can use very effectively for decision making. But here, so what do we have here? Let's quickly have a look. So here we have ancient Irwin. This is something we are all familiar with, right? All of us are familiar with ancient Irwin. He was very good at his craft, finest products, finest craft, everything was there. Visibility was not there. So this is where we have skill. So this is where we have low, high. So he was extremely skilled, right? The ancient Irwin. But here we have visibility. His visibility was low. So this is where he is sitting here, where he is extremely skilled, but low visibility. Then we have failing shop. So this is where you are not skilled and you don't have visibility. So that's where you are out of the business. You don't know that, but you are out of the business. Then we have the hollow marketer. So hollow marketers are the businesses who don't have skill, right? They don't have capability, but they are very, very good at marketing. And there are so many examples we all know. So that's where you are a hollow marketer. Now, even if you are here, you will have visibility and people will know about you. You'll have interactions and whatnot. But obviously, because you don't have skill, so eventually you will go out of business. This is the modern master. This is where we all have to be. This is where you have skills and you also have the visibility. Now, obviously, you all are already skilled, so we are not going to focus on this spectrum. We will focus on this spectrum, and the spectrum is not just human visibility. This is for AI to discover and find your business. All right, so let's move ahead. This is also the transition which has happened very quickly. Let's go through it. So the physical locations are now your digital authority, your display windows are your schema markups, and your word of mouth are your indexes, and your guild membership are your digital footprint. So that's how your digital uh, enterprise, your physical enterprise has transitioned into digital enterprise. Now comes the mission part where we have to build all these foundations so that Arvind can get the order from the international buyer. So the AI discoverability, I'm not talking about human discoverability, I'm talking about AI. So the international buyer has asked the servant, who's servant? AI, to find the supplier. So that's where you have these four pillars which we have to work on. That is where Arvind's business will become AI discoverable. What are these pillars? Let's quickly go through them. The first pillar is who you are. The second pillar is what do you do. The third pillar is why you or why should you be trusted. And the last one is the technology one, although you can take them in any order. I generally take the last one first, but these are the four pillars on which your businesses AI discoverability sandstone. Let's move ahead. So the first pillar is why or who you are. So the objective of this segment is to help AI understand who you are. And that does not mean just having a about us page on your website. It means that without talking to you, without interacting with you on an email or WhatsApp or phone, a person is able to have absolutely clear understanding about your business, about your leadership, about your infrastructure, about your certification, whatnot, everything which is related to your business, they have absolute clarity about your business. So that is the who you are segment. Now, in order to help you understand this in a little easier way, what I've done is this where imagine that Arvind has a website, and on that website, what all pages that Arvind will have to create. So here you have the corporate identity section where you have about us, why choose us, company profile, leadership team. And then you comes the infrastructure. Now, infrastructure is optional. If you have, like if you have a factory, then certainly you can have. If you are a trader, then you may be having a warehousing infrastructure or quality control processes around that. You can do that. So for Arvind, it is the infrastructure profile, the product development process, the sampling process, bulk production process, quality control process. That's around the supply and quality, fabric sourcing, packaging and labeling, and lead time and FAQ. All right. So I hope it helps you get a slightly better clarity in terms of when I say AI has to understand about you. Now, the question for all of you is that considering this much information, and these are not just titles, these are independent pages with around 500 word worth of content. So if Arvind is creating this information on his website, can AI understand about him or his business? Him is not important. His business is important. So can they do that? You can respond yes, no. What do you think? Or is there anything additional that you think should be there? So please use chat to let me know what do you think. Is it good enough, or you think there should be something additional, or it is way too much that So I think Vinodji has written no, it is not good enough. So what is additional that is needed? I think uh, Pranav may be referring to the trust part. That's where we have no SEO is something which is not something we are talking today. We are talking about AI discoverability. That is more crucial. SEO is already a thing of a past. And SEO is more about what information that you're adding. So if you're creating a about us page, that's where you can embed the keywords and you can have a very nice meta and all. So yes, that can be done. That is a very small component of it. This is where, and this is where the second question which I wanted to ask all of you is that how many of you have pages on your website like these? There's no standard yardstick to it. It is different for each business. But on an average, what I've seen, at least 5 to 7 pages are required for a business to be AI understandable. Now, how many of you have that? All right, so I'm happy if you have. I'm seeing a comment from Kriti. So we have, yes, I will be intrigued because generally we don't see website because this is where, let's be realistic, websites were never made for AI. Even today, they are not made for AI. They are made more for human beings. And that's why the level of detailing which is required for AI to understand you is not there. And that's the biggest information gap. This is where you have to like literally put everything on your website. And Indians, we are somehow very conservative. I'm not sure where that psychology came into us, and it is across. I reviewed like thousands of websites of exporters across almost everyone I had come across as little conservative talking about themselves. And this is where we have to flip that and make ourselves talk more, especially on our website. That's where AI is going to build that understanding about our business, and that's where we need to have more information. Now, if you don't have this much information, at least 5 to 7 pages just talking about your business, that's where you have a gap and you have to look into it. Let's move on to the second component, and that is where the action happens. And why do I say this is where the action happens? This is what you do. So if you're a service provider, obviously it is talking about your service. If you are a product person, if you are dealing in product, obviously it is about the products. And this is where all of you should have product detail pages on your website. And a question to all of you, how many of you have product detail pages? Now, if you are having a website where you have just created a page and where all the products that you deal in, they are listed, you are out of the race even before it began. You need to have detailed product information pages which have at least 100 to 200 word worth of content. So if you have product detail pages, yes, that is required. Again, there are few other things which are also required, so I'll explain on that. But if AI has to understand you that you are dealing in this product, so you need to have a product detail page. Now, this is because this is a very common problem. I'll try to take a screenshot whenever I came across this website, but almost 6 to 7 websites which I review of exporters, out of 10, they have this problem wherein there's just one page about product and all the products. So, for example, if they deal in spices, so black pepper, coriander, cardamom, they are all listed there, title and just 2 lines about the product. Now, with that approach, if you are imagining or dreaming to be AI discoverable, then I'm sorry, you are hallucinating, because that is never going to happen. You are competing against people who have product detail pages with 200 300 worth of content with meta and keywords embedded into it, all that information with the proper schema markup. There is no way that is going to happen. So that is where, if you had that approach, please change that. That is in little stronger words, but that is equivalent to not having a website. You're just wasting your money. It is not good for anything. Right. Now let's come to this point. Now, for the products, if Arvind has to become AI discoverable, what do Arvind has to do? So that's where, firstly, approaching with respect to, because he deals in garments, so that's where he will be approaching it from the category wise, right? So men's garments, women's garments, he can have separate categories, kids wear products, and then knitted and women, right? So he's dealing in knitted products and he's dealing in woven products, so he can also help them. And then uniform, he also makes uniforms, so that's where it can be done. Now, a lot of businesses, I've also seen that they don't do that. They create very less or limited categorization, probably because they are getting charged by the page. But whatever that is, it is counterproductive, because eventually you are losing on the leads. So here, try to have a matrix type of navigation. Matrix basically means that you're approaching the same product from different paths. For example, there's a men's sweater. So it will come in men's category, but it will also come in knitted product category, right? Or let's take a beauty product example. So there's a face wash which is there, and obviously when I'm going listing on the website, it is under face wash category. But at the same time, this face wash helps with acne. So I can also have a navigation which is for skin remedies, acne, and that's where I can link the same product. So these are like different pathways that you are creating for customers to find and discover that product. Okay, so that is important to do. But firstly, having this kind of category structure is important. Now, this is one way, which is obviously one of the common ways which a lot of businesses is used. Second is technical niches. This is where it is expanding, because we have to be as discoverable as possible, right? So that's where you have activewear and sportswear. Activewear, sportswear, this is one categorization. So even for men and women, you can have activewear, sleepwear, loungewear, custom apparel, private label. So if he's doing, he can create a page. And in fact, on that page, private label, he can show whatever products he can do for private labeling. So for example, he can do t-shirts, which are private labeling. So you can show those there. And then core competency, sustainable apparels, if he's doing fabric capabilities, printing, embellishment, MOQ capabilities, we can have separate pages talking about the product. So these are not related to the business, right? Sustainable apparel if he's sourcing is not related to the business. It is related to the product. So that's where related to the pages. And this is where you're not showing the product. You're not creating product detail pages. This is where you're creating information pages like how I am sourcing sustainability, how the fabric capabilities are there, or printing or embellishment or MQ capabilities. So anything which is related to product can have more information pages around them. So this is where you, Arvind, will have a chance to become AI discoverable. Now, because I've just talked about manufacturer and I've talked about a particular industry, that does not mean that it only applies to textile manufacturing or garment manufacturing. It applies to everyone. Even if you are a trader, if you are a merchant exporter who deals in spices, it applies to you. So this where you can have the spice categorization. Now, just bear with me for a moment. I am over explaining it. I know that, but please bear with me for a moment. So imagine you are a spice exporter, right? For a moment, just imagine, close your eyes and imagine you are a spice exporter. And you have to list black pepper. Black pepper is your specialty. You deal in all the types of black pepper, and it's your specialty. You have to list black pepper. Now, how will you do that? Now, because we don't have too much time, so I don't want to take your time. I know what the answers are, but I'm trying to answer them for you. So, generally, what people will do is that they will just list or create one page black pepper. We deal in black pepper. That's it. Now, with that approach, is it possible to become AI discoverable? They are creating product detail page. They are. I'm not saying they are not creating product detail page. And in case you are confused, what is a product detail page? So give me a quick second. I may have something open here. Yeah, this is a product detail page. This is for Tuadal. So they have created this kind of product detail page. Now, the question is that enough? No. Understand. Black pepper has varieties. In India, if we are talking about, so there are two main branches of black pepper are Telichari and Malabar. So there are two types of black pepper which are there. Even in Malabar or Telichari, there are different grades to it. So for example, in Malabar, you have M1, M2, etc. So that's where you have to go to that detail. So black pepper in the AI discoverable or AI recommendable approach will be a category. And then you will have subcategorization, Telichari and Malabar. And inside Malabar, you will have variations. Possibly you should be adding them separately as a product. So that's where you have, because when you're adding it separately as a product, that's where you have its own identity on the internet. The chances of getting crawled and being properly understood by AI are significantly higher as compared to it being a variation in that. So with again all the technical information like what is the journal uh, moisture content, what is the admixture count, what is the average grain size, etc. Or for black pepper, you need medical tests for E. coli and Semolina. Are those done, or are they are readily available depending on the client's requirement, or any additional tests which are required related to that product? So you have to go to that level of detailing. I hope it clears the picture. So creating this kind of page, this is just an example which I'm showing you. But even for certain product, you have to go to further detailing. Now, in addition to that, just having this page may not suffice. It has to be, the content has to be written in a way that AI can understand. So if you have written long paragraphs, obviously AI is not going to understand that. It has to be bullet points and FAQs, etc. So you have to write it in that way so that AI can understand it. And then you also have to have FAQs because AI loves FAQs. So this where you can see FAQs should be there. But more importantly, even if you have done all that, if it is not having schema markup, and this is where, sorry, I'm jumping the gun, but because we are here, and this is a area where I have seen things going wrong a lot. So that's where I thought of already showing it to you. So even if you have done all that, so you have a product detail page with 200 word worth of content, bullet points, everything. If you don't have this or you have it wrong, so a lot of websites will have article here. That's where you are yourself telling AI, this is not a product, this is an article. I am a content writer. I've written a very nice article. Please read it. You're giving that message if your schema is wrong. So it has to be organization and product. That's where you're giving the right information to AI. This is where types product, you can see type product. This is where AI understand, okay, this is a product. Whom does this product belongs? So it belongs to this organization called Lakshya Organize. So that's where AI will be able to understand. So if this is not there, that's where, yeah, website, nice to have that. Like, so it's a website which is there. You are happy that you have a website, but is it helping you? No, it is not going to. See, even that kind of small. In fact, if this is different, if it is not product for service, obviously it will be service. But if it is not product, you will not be a discoverer, right? So it goes to that level of detailing. You have to go to, and you have to be that detailed to ensure that your business becomes AI discoverable. Now, why is this? Why am I spending or taking so much of your time here? Because understand, let's be realistic, let's be practical. No one is now searching for supplier A, supplier B. They are not searching, they are looking for product. So this is where the action happens. This is where your leads will come. This is where your business will come. This is where your revenue will come. Right. So this is where the action happens. That's why it is the most important. And that's why I was taking a lot of your time, because this is where, even if you have everything else placed, if this goes wrong, everything goes wrong. All right, now let's come to the next part. That is, why should you be trusted? Now, this is the most difficult one and the critical one, because this is where you have to literally make AI trust you. Now, if you go to Google, let's say, search black pepper, you will probably get millions of results there. But if you go to AI and ask for supplier for black pepper from XYZ state or supplier from black pepper from India, you will not get more than 20, 30 results there. 1 million, 20, 30, that is a huge difference. What has happened that AI trusts these businesses and only then it is recommending them. So that's where you have to make AI trust you. How do you do that? How do you make AI trust you? So for that, you have to firstly present yourself as a genuine organization, as a real actual company. How do you do that? So that's where all your certifications, etc., comes into play. So you have to put in your certificates, you have to put in all your affiliations which you have to add your testimonials so that AI knows that you are a you have happy customers. You have to add case studies if they are there, and anything that makes you trustworthy. So, for example, this particular business I was showing you into perfume. So that's where you have not only have certifications, which are obviously important to help AI understand what are these certifications. You have to also explain about them, and you are displaying the certifications as well. But in addition to that, because this is a product which is used for personal consumption, so quality and assurance and lab testings, etc. So anything that makes you trustworthy and genuine, you should be displaying that. Now, coming to Arvind, what Arvind should be doing, or uh, in our recommendation, what he should be doing. So this is where, firstly, certification is an audit. So that's where all the compliances, he's a government, so he has different compliances, but all the compliances, SADEX audit, OECO, text standard 1000, ISO 1001, audit readiness, etc. So all that individual pages, these are created, or you have certification page where you have added them. Now, in a lot of websites, when I review, I notice that people add certificates, but what is this certificate? There's no heading, there's no description to it. Now you are imagining AI, that AI will make sense of it. Yes, AI has the option to review documents, but only when it is asked. It is when it is crawling your website, it is not going to do that, because that will appear as an image link or a PDF link. So that's where you have to also add all that context to it. Then you have the trust footprint. So that's where you have case studies, buyer reviews, testimonials, factory galleries. If you have a factory, you should have a factory page, media mentions, award and recognitions, all that. Anything and everything that makes you appear trustworthy. You should have that. Now, I did say that this is a difficult step, right? So you must be thinking, I can create all these pages. What is difficult in that? Because it goes beyond your website. It is not limited to your website. I create 10 pages praising myself and immediately I become AI trustworthy. No, it draws signals from other places as well across the internet. That's where you have to go beyond your website. And I'll take a moment to quickly highlight what are the most important areas where you should be looking at. The first one is Google My Business. Very, very important. In fact, experts, AI discoverability experts, call it the passport to AI discoverability. It is very important. So, firstly, optimize it and then try to get as many reviews as possible. Second are your social media presence. If you don't have social media pages, and a lot of people had argued with me that we are a B2B business, why should we have social media? Because that's where AI gets that signal. Okay, you are a active and lively business who is regularly posting, regularly interacting. So at least have Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. If you can create videos, then also have YouTube. And these should be active profile. What I mean by active, firstly, it should be properly created, proper banner, proper description. Other than that, at least once in a week you should be posting. If you don't do that, like if for months if you're not posting, it is giving a signal that this business is not active for some sense. Yeah, you will get reviewed lower. So, or the recommendation or the trust that you will get is lower. So that is something which will impact. You should be focusing on that. So at least once in a month. Once in a month means what? Four posts, one, not once in a month, once in a week. So that means four posts in a month. Creating four posts now with AI is not big deal. Anyone can do that. Like, and you have to just give AI that this is my business. These are the products that I deal in. I can create the entire calendar for you, and you give that calendar back to AI and it will create the content, and then you can create the visuals also. It is very easy. It is not that difficult. And there are scheduling services also available which you can use. The third one is something which you can use to uh, improve the authority of your domain, and which will also help. And that is something which is now referred as answer engine optimization. Don't be scared, it is not that complicated. So, answer engine optimization is basically trying to find what questions your customers are asking. Now, looks like a very difficult thing. It is very easy. If you go to Google and start typing out your product, you will see in the auto suggest what are the questions which are the most commonly asked. Or you can go to dedicated platforms like Answer the Public, and that's where you can search, and it will give you a very long list of what questions are being asked. And then you can find the questions, relevant questions, and then you create blog articles for that. So let me try to see if I can explain with an example. So for this particular business, which is a organic spice exporter, when we researched, we found out a common question which was asked by buyers from US, Europe, especially the first-time buyers, was how to verify quality and certification when importing spices from India. He answered it using a blog article, directly answered it. So that is another thing which you must use very effectively. And because it is believed that answer engine optimization is going to replace search engine optimization. So why not start early on that and have some first mover advantage there? Now we are coming to the last section, and this is equally important. It is not like it is the last section. So there is very little weightage. If this is wrong, everything else that you have created is of no use. So here again, I don't propose very complicated things. These are things which can be used by anyone and everyone to check their technical readiness. The first one is indexation. So indexation is basically your website is getting indexed on Google. So it is very simple. All you have to do is go to Google, type site, and then copy paste the URL. So for example, let's take this website like that. So it will show you what pages are there. If there's a person sitting there with a fishing rod, that is where you have critical issue. And even if, for example, your website has 50 pages and only 10 are showing there, that means that indicates that there is an issue with indexing. Now, this is a indicative test. This is not a AI test that we are doing. It is an indicative test, and it indicates that if Google is not able to index your website, then there is something wrong with your website, and you should be looking into it, right? So it's a indicative test. The second test is something which I've already shown you, and which is the schema. Now, schema, a lot of websites don't have schema. That's where you are out of picture. Some websites do have a schema, but they have wrong schema. Like they'll not have product, they'll have article, list item, or whatnot. Again, that's where you are again deviating AI. So instead of telling and that I have this product, why not recommend me? You are saying, okay, I don't deal in this product. This is the article which I have written for this product. So that's where again that is there. The third one is page speed. So generally, it has been observed that the websites which are slower are not recommended by AI. So you should have good page speed, and then there you have the page speed tool from Google. You can use that. So that's where you have to look into those tests, and you will be able to uh, optimize yourself. So this is where for Arvin, search optimization is where we are looking into the indexing, and then you have the schema markup, and then you have the social architecture, which I've already recommended, and then you have the knowledge authority, which is there. So that is where Arvind is going to become AI recommendable. Now, in addition to that, if you can also list on marketplaces. So, for example, we operate this marketplace called Indian Business Portal, which is in collaboration with a government body. Sorry, just give me a quick second. I will have it here. So this is a export marketplace which we have created in collaboration with the Federation of Indian Export Organization, also popularly known as FIO, which is an apex export promotion body by the government of India. So this is a exporters marketplace where exporters are showcasing their offering, whether in form of product or service, and international buyers are coming here and either sharing their requirement in form of an RFQ, or they are directly contacting and interacting with the Indian exporters. So listing on these marketplace, or we also operate another marketplace called the GlobalLinker marketplace, which is a cross-border B2B sourcing platform. So that's where if you're listing in these marketplaces, and especially a marketplace which is from a government organization, it also improves the trustworthiness and credibility, and obviously will give you an advantage. Now, what is the outcome after all this effort that Arvind has put in making his business AI recommendable? Yes, the international buyer will be able to identify Arvind Exports as a potential supplier, and Arvind will be able to get that order, will be able to get that business. So that is all from my side in today's session. Now I am going to turn off the screen share, and we will break into the question answer round. So if you have any questions, anything that you would want to clarify, please do let me know. And my colleague Supriya, who's also joining us here today, she has been kind to share the link of a review session. So I'll tell you a quick background to this. So after almost all my webinars, people personally reach out to me asking, can you please review our website and let us know where do we stand with respect to AI discoverability, AI understandability. So that's where uh, we have this scheduling option. So this is a link of my calendar. So using that, you can easily schedule a session with me, and then I will review your website and I'll guide you where do you stand, or what are the areas of improvement with respect to making your business AI discoverable. So I can see there's a comment by Sarthak. So Sarthak's comment is that they have a e-commerce website. So even Sarthak, even for e-commerce website, schema is not just for AI; it is also there for SEO. Schema is not like a new thing which has come in. Schema has become very important because of AI, because that's how AI interprets the information. It does not look at the information how we do on the screen. So that's where the schema has been there. But uh, even for B2B, B2C websites, irrespective, even if you are into services, schema has to be there. Because without that, you will have poor search ranking and you will have poor AI discoverability. And that there's a question by Aradhya. Will we get the presentation after the session? We'll share with you the recording. I generally don't share the presentation, but if you want to have a copy, I can share that. You can drop me an email. I will be happy to share that as well. Okay, so there is a question by Pranav, how to make our business AI discoverable. So Pranav, schedule a session. I will do a personal one-on-one review of your website and I'll guide you how to make your business AI discoverable. And I would also want to share that there is a service that we offer, because we had been doing these sessions for past 6 months, and after many of our sessions, people came to us that, okay, we have realized that our current website is not helping us become AI discoverable. Can you help fix that? So that's where we have started this service, which is called Done For Me B2B Website Setup Service. As part of that service, our team creates a end-to-end website. So it is entirely done. Technology is one part of the equation that you have to have the right technology, right schema, all that. But in addition to that, the biggest bottleneck has been content, knowing what content has to be created and it has to be formatted in the right way. So all that. So that content was becoming one of the biggest impediment. And that's where we created the service wherein our team creates that content. We create the optimized content, we format it the right way, upload it. It is also SEO optimized. So that's where our team creates that service. And Supriya has already shared the link with all of you in the chat. So do review that service. So if you want to have a totally turnkey end-to-end where you are not getting involved. Obviously, you're running a business. There are a million things that you have to look into. So that's where our team does everything. And within 15 days, you get a AI discoverable website. So that is something which is available to all of you. Supriya has already shared the link. And if you want to firstly understand, because obviously, do you need that? The first question is, do you need to do anything to make your business discoverable? That's where we have that one-on-one review session option. So you can review it. You can connect with me on a one-on-one session and I will guide you. I'll help you understand where you stand, and then you can take that decision. You don't have to like be worried like, okay, how do I know that where my business is? So there was a question, anonymous attendee, they are a logistic provider. So anonymous attendee, if you are still there, kindly drop an email to me. My email ID is already there in the chat. So kindly drop an email to me and I will connect with you all in person and we will discuss how we can work together. Next question is from Rahul ji. So Rahul ji has asked on which platform. So GlobalLinker, we have our own platform that is called Linker Store from GlobalLinker, and we have built this platform for two purposes. One is obviously to make it affordable because we work a lot with MSMEs, so that it is affordable. But having said that, it does not mean that it does not have the features or finesse of any other platform. Yes, it is equally capable. At the same time, it is a no-code platform, which means you don't need to have technical knowledge. You don't need to be a coder. You don't need to be a programmer or a software engineer. You just need to know how to type. And that's where you can set up the entire website. You can manage the entire website. So that platform is available. Plus, we are actively working on bringing in all the technical components which are there for AI to recognize you, because the challenge is not just of looking beautiful, it is of AI being able to understand you. And whatever technology is needed, we have already built into the platform. So I will be a little biased for ourselves, but I would recommend from AI understandability perspective, you should consider building your website on GlobalLinker. Next question is from Mr. Mohanlal, how to find export buyers. Now, this is where I would circle back to the first story which I told you about Ravi and Suresh. So, it is absolutely not wrong to look for international buyers, but understand building your foundation has become critical. Gone are the days wherein you can export without having a website. Now, even, and this is where I'm not making this up, one of my close friend heads procurement for a large company in UAE, and I was talking to him, and that's where I asked, like, how are you using AI? So that's where there are two uses that he highlighted very prominent. One is obviously for supplier selections. All the quotations that are submitted, AI is now reviewing them and doing the selection. The second one, and which is related to this discussion or this question, how to find buyers. So the suppliers who are reaching out to them directly, earlier they used to do a due diligence themselves as human beings, and it used to take time. Now they have a AI tool available, so they have to just provide the details to that AI tool, and that AI tool does the entire work and due diligence. Now imagine that you have reached out, you have managed to reach out that procurement manager or procurement head, but when he or she uses AI to find about you, because you don't have a website or you don't have a AI discoverable website, you will get scored poorly, right? That is where it comes back to the base. And that's why I am seeing that before you get into that activity, build your base. And then obviously, so even if someone is reviewing you, even if you have reached them directly offline through the telephone, whatever medium you have used, still being AI discoverable is very, very important. Uh, Next question is uh, about shipping price. Perumal C. And the question is the listing price should include the shipping prices. Now, there are two approaches to it. So, if it is a B2C product, obviously you can charge shipping prices separately. That's not an issue. For a B2B or export, you don't know from where the person wants to import and how much quantity. So that's where it is better to show price on request. That is an option which is available. So price on request can be shown. And then once you have understood that where the person needs, how much quantity they need, that's where you can show the price. So that both the options are available. So Uh, Sajesh has written a wrong comment. Sajesh, firstly, I would want to review your website. That's where I think I'll be able to share my inputs. I may not be able to uh, comment what may have wrong, and then we can go through what approach you have taken, and then I can share your specific inputs. But the starting point is your website. So you can schedule a session with me. I can review it, or you can email me. This is my website, and I can review it. I can record a 2-minute video if I find something surprising, and then we can decide to connect for a longer session. So there is a question about Muhammad Arbaz, and he has asked to explain about sitemap. So sitemap is basically the entire directory of your website. And if you go to any website, you type sitemap.xml, it should ideally display the sitemap. Now, sitemap is crucial for the crawlers to understand what all pages are there. So, as a best practice, whenever you are creating a website, you should ideally be submitting the sitemaps with Google Search Console so that Google knows that these are the pages which are there on your website, and it is also forced to then index them, crawl them, and index them. So that is the sitemap. Yes, it is important because, like search crawlers, AI crawlers also crawl your website. So yes, sitemap is important, and it is there on the Global Linkers websites that are created. So there's a question by Mr. Manu, and the question is, can they get the buyer list? So, Mr. Manu, firstly, we don't provide this kind of information. We are bound by the privacy laws. So there are privacy laws which prevent publicly sharing or even commercially sharing of personal information. So yes, that can't be done. But I'm not sure where, at what time you have joined the session, because this is something which I covered as the very first thing in my today's webinar. And this is where, even if, just imagine for a second, I shared that list of 10,000 buyers with you, and you did a reach out. Now, if you are not AI discoverable, and out of those 10,000, let's assume a open rate of 25%, So you have somewhere around 2,500 people opening your email, and out of that, let's say 1,000 of them used AI to understand about you, and they are going to use. No one wants to spend time these days. Everyone wants to be productive. In fact, if they are not productive, they are not efficient, they might get penalized. So they will for sure use AI, and it will come back to the base to your website. And if your website is not ready for, or it is not optimized for AI understandability, you will get recommended for poorly, or will say, no, we shouldn't be doing business with Manu. That's where it comes back that you have to firstly work on your base, then you can go and work on the subsequent thing. All right, so there is a comment by Naga Subramanian about AI discoverability. So, firstly, it is not like a magical thing I can do and business becomes AI discoverable. It is a process and it is different for different organizations. So, it has to be done in a systematic way. So, what ideally you should do, my recommendation is schedule a session or drop me an email. Let me review details of your business and then we can connect. Or Supriya has already shared that link. So schedule a session, let me review your business, your digital presence, and then I can recommend to you that these are the things that you should be doing to become AI discoverable. Uh, there's a comment by Mr. S. Upadhyay. What to do if through email the GlobalLinker buyer don't reply? So, firstly, I don't think you can interact with a buyer through email. You can either submit quotation or you can chat with them. Now, ideally, the buyer should be replying if they're interested in interacting with you. If that is not happening in certain cases where you feel that it is a important opportunity, so you can reach out to us and let our team reach out to the buyer and ask them or request them to respond back to you. So, in case you're feeling that there is an important RFQ, you have submitted the quotation, but you're not getting a response, so you can reach out to our help desk, and our help desk will then contact the buyer and see what is happening and why the action is not doing happening there. Perfect. So this is where I just had a look at the clock and I realized we have overshot our time by 15 minutes. So this is where I believe we should conclude the session for today. And you already have the link to schedule a one-on-one session. You already have my email. So whatever is more convenient to you, please use that medium and let's work together. Let's make your business AI discoverable. So I look forward to hearing from all of you, and even otherwise, not just AI discoverability, anything, any suggestion you need with regards to technology, please do feel free to reach out. Perfect. This is where, once again, thank you all. Thank you for taking your own time and participating in this session. I really appreciate you spending your time here, and I hope you've learned or heard something valuable. And this is where we'll conclude this session for today. Thank you all. Thanks for your time. Have a wonderful evening ahead. Bye bye.